Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons. We're trying to take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. What you do for us is absolutely amazing. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as a link to a live stream game that we're part of every Wednesday night on Critical Failures. Check us out. With all that out of the way, let's get into this week's video. We're talking about the AVEN. So AVEN are part of the Planescape group. Again, this is like, it was released as a promotional thing with Magic the Gathering. These are the Magic the Gathering races. They're all owned by Wizards of the Coast. So there is a lot of availability for you to use these subclass, these species. Definitely talk to your DM, especially if they're not a big fan of Magic the Gathering or they don't like Ravnica. Definitely check that out to make sure these are allocated, but I consider doing these because they're kind of part of the world. Strixhaven and Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica are both kind of set in the Magic the Gathering universe, so it kind of makes sense to cover them. Jumping into the AVEN, they're a lot like the Aarakocra. They are bird-like humanoids. They have talons, they have wings, they have feathers, they have beaks, and that normal headdress that a bird would have. They do have a very cool type of them that's called the Cathari, which is like a vulture version of them. And if you would have guessed, obviously I love vultures. They are ugly looking, they are scavengers, they are evil, they literally watch you perish and then tear you apart. They are patient and they are so calm no matter how ravenous they may feel. So I have a lot of appreciation for that. So when I see the AVEN, that's kind of where my thought process goes. They are, again, a Magic the Gathering thing, so you definitely kind of bring in a lot of different aspects when you start talking about Magic the Gathering. With all that said and done, they do kind of have abilities and species traits or racial traits that's kind of very similar to like how the halflings are, where you have a base and you have two different options. So the base AVEN, you start off with a dexterity score of +2. You age normally like a human does, and you live roughly around to your 80s. Your alignment is more inclined towards lawful neutral, but very rarely do you kind of deviate. So if it gives you a good mindset of the kind of way you see the world, it's very animalistic, it's very opportunistic, but you are kind of more inclined to follow whatever rules that might be necessary for your survival. You are about 5 to 6 feet. You are slender. Your bones are hollow, so you're a little lighter than usual. Your base walking speed is 25 feet, but you have a flying speed of 30 feet. You can't use your flying speed while you wear medium or heavy armor. If your campaign uses the variant rule for encumbrance, you can use your flying speed if you are encumbered. You can read, write, and speak Common and AVEN as your languages. It's very similar to the Aarakocra. I think the Aarakocra can wear medium armor. I'm not 100%. I haven't played one in a while. But that being said, I think this kind of leans more towards casters, and you'll see why when we get further away from this, but it does incline you to be a more light armored kind of a character. Again, the more flying speed than walking speed, it's to kind of put you in this mindset of flying more than walking. Yeah, you can walk a little bit, but you're more inclined to fly because you are more bird than you are a human. And it's a concept that once you start putting together well, you can really gain that kind of headspace to really kind of play this character to the full extent of its abilities. Now, the two sub-species or sub-races that come from this, one of them is the Ibis-headed AVEN. The majority of the Ibis-headed AVEN are drawn to the teachings of Kefnet, specializing in spellcasting. They take great pride in all the qualities they share with the god of knowledge, not just their avian heads, but their quick wit, self-confidence, cunning, and spellcasting prowess. Your ability score for intelligence is increased by 1, and you could get an additional ability called Kefnet's Blessing. You add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to any intelligence check you make that doesn't already include your proficiency bonus. So this kind of helps with keeping skills going, depending on what you want to do with your intelligence or how you want to build your character. They make great arcane tricksters. They make great wizards. If you wanted to go fighter even, you can make a great eldritch knight. Things like that will kind of benefit you. But again, intelligence, and at this point in the creation, they didn't have the Tasha's rules where you can switch ability scores. But I think if you were going to do that, I think that +1 bonus should kind of affect the proficiency bonuses, just so it kind of stakes together in a nice, neat package. The other sub species or sub race is hawk-headed AVEN. Following the example of Oketra, hawk-headed AVEN focus on the techniques of long-range combat. Most prefer javelins, but some are skilled with bows, spears, and throwing axes. You gain an ability score increase of +2 to your wisdom, and you have Hawk-eyed. You have proficiency in the perception skill. In addition, attacking at long range doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged weapon attack rolls. So, you have, with all the ranged weapons, you have a long range and a maximum range. Your long range might be like 120 feet, and your maximum range might be like 200, or whatever it is. Once you hit that long range, you are shooting at disadvantage. Yeah, you can shoot that far, but it is significantly harder to aim, so you start shooting at disadvantage. This does give you a wide berth of what you can do with your offensive attacks. It does make it so that way you are significantly further back than some spellcasters could even hit you with stuff. It depends on what weapon you're using, how you want to build your character. +2 to wisdom, +2 to dex. You're kind of screaming ranger, or something along those lines that can really benefit from that exceeded distance. Clearly, a Gloomstalker would be very, very good in this kind of situation to gain that dark vision and to have that additional extra attack on the first round and be able to take advantage of that long range. Also, rogues, again, fit very well for this. It's interesting how they set up all these species because they are very mixed in with cool ideologies behind them, because they have their own gods and deities that they worship. They are all like pharaoh and Egyptian kinds of beings, the AVENs, and it does kind of breed this cool different take on how the might and magic world kind of is, which is a great thing to add flavor in and change the kind of world that you're in and really add depth to the different places you might visit in a campaign. But it does not do anything that gives you an exuberant ability with these species that make them kind of stand out. But I think for changing the setting and giving perspective of different campaigns, I think they're a great species to put up and put together if you were building a town. If you're a DM and none of your players were using this, but you had to go to a desert area, filling it with a bunch of AVEN might really kind of flesh that out and feel really cool. The AVEN do give you a great opportunity to build a new kind of world or new town or new environment. Or maybe you're playing a game with a lot of Aarakocra and they need enemies. The AVEN can really, really well fit that kind of need, where they're so intertwined with being so similar that this causes a great divide between them and they're too close together to kind of like each other. And that gives you that great opportunity to have a rival or have an antithesis to what your people are doing. It's a lot of fun. I do like Egyptian mythology. I think it's awesome. I'm very much a fan of ancient religions. I think they're so cool, especially when they have multitudes of gods that all do different things. It's definitely my jam. That being said, the AVEN kind of give me a little peek way into doing stuff like that, and I really enjoy stuff like that. I think it's a nice change from the Aarakocra, who are cool in their own respect, but I think the AVEN have a little bit more opportunity to be different, and I like vultures, so it kind of fits together really well for me. That being said, we're going to bring this video to a close. If you've made it this far, definitely give me a like and subscribe. A big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as the link to our good friends at Critical Failures. Check us out every Wednesday night, and thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.